Okay, so we're going to discuss, the Mishnah talks about Arba Avos Nizikin. So there's two parts to the shiur I want to give today. I want to give a shtickle nigla part, and at the end we'll learn a little chassidus. Anybody learned about the Tzavas or Rivash on this? The Arba Avos Nizikin? You can't call yourself Lubavitch if you don't know what the Baal Shem Tov says about this. Okay, but let's talk about the Arba Avos Nizikin. Yeah, you learned that. Okay. The Mishnah starts off saying that there are four ways. Everybody understands English. Yiddish what? English. The Mishnah says there are four primary ways how a person's assets, not himself, right?
His offspring.
Offspring is okay. His assets, things that belong to him, could cause damage, and if he causes damage, you're responsible. Let me ask you: if you were to write the Mishnah, is this the right way to start the Masechta? Hello, there are four different ways how you could cause damage. Tell me I'm not allowed to cause damage, and if I'm not allowed to, let's discuss how is it, what's a nezik. Let's start right away. You're jumping right to the deep end. You say there are four different ways. I need to know the basics. When you look in Shulchan Aruch in Choshen Mishpat, Siman Shin Ayin Ches, the Mechaber starts off with the words Asur lahazik ma mechavera. You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to. And if you did, you're chayiv l'shalom. You have to pay. And then let's discuss how much you have to pay. Will depend on what type of nezik was it. Was it a tam? Was it a muad? Was it shken? Was it regel? Depending on what's normal for it to happen, what's a fluke. But before you have to start with a yisoid, you shouldn't do it. So the words of the Mechaber is asur. You're not allowed to, and if you did, you're chayiv l'shalom. And if you did, you have to pay. Now it's not only the way I just said it that first you have to give me a what you're not allowed to do, and then don't just start off with saying there are four different ways. If you're medayik in the word of the Shulchan Aruch, there are two separate issues. When you cause a damage, what did you do wrong? What did you do wrong? You or something of yours that damaged somebody's car. A, did you cause him a financial loss? Did you cause him a hezek? It's a financial loss, so I have to pay him. B, you're not supposed to do this is not something that the Eibishter wants you to do. In other words, is it an Isur or is it a dinei mominus? Is it bein adam chaveroi or bein adam lamakrim? Or is it both or is it one? Which one is it? So over here, you can't see this. When you learn in Shulchan Aruch says Asur. You're not allowed to do it. A bein adam lamakim thing. If there's an Isur to harm somebody else's thing. If you did, it becomes a dinei mominus. It becomes now, I did something wrong, and somebody lost some money. So now it's a dinei mominus. How much money should I pay? Well, let's start off with the Isur. L'may nafkamina. It's a very big nafkamina. If it's only a financial issue, could I say to myself, I would like to see what a Rolls Royce looks like with scratches. My neighbor has a Rolls Royce. I'm going to scratch it, but I'll pay for it. So I'm being a goody. Mitzad dinei mominus, I'm going to pay for it. But mitzad the Isur, I shouldn't do it. So the Sma on the Shulchan Aruch, when he brings this halacha, says there are two pratim to this. Two pratim. There is the Isur, there's the bein adam lamakim, and then there is the Chiyu. And the Achronim say, even if you say to yourself you're going to pay for it, you're still not allowed to do it because there's the Isur. But that's a halachic way. There are other issues, differences between Isur and Mamonis. What are there other issues between Isur and Mamonis? You know, there are certain klalim that we follow in Gemara and Shulchan Aruch. Safek Dairaisa. Is it Chinese to you? L'chumra. What does Safek Dairaisa mean? Anytime if you're not sure if you're allowed to do this, if it's an Isser, any slight Safek Dairaisa, you have to go L'chumra. I will tell Safek Yerabani you can be Mekel, right? But I will tell you exact polar opposite than Safek Dairaisa L'chumra. Safek Dairaisa L'chumra means if you have the slightest doubt if I'm allowed to do this, you're not allowed to. Because it's an Isser. You're not allowed to be Safek Isser. Because it's Isser. By the Dairaisa, one Safek, and by the Rabbanan, by the Raisa, one Safek, and the Rabbanan, you could be easier. Okay? When it comes to Dinei Mamonos, there's a whole other method that we follow. The method that we follow in English is a saying, possession is 9/10 of the law. You know what that means? Whoever is holding the item, Shnayim, Mochsin, Batalis, whoever is holding the money, whoever is the muhzik, whoever is the muhzik, he most probably is the owner. So the muhzik is most probably the one that you have to bring proof that I have to give you my money. If I worked so hard for my money and you're telling me that I owe you money, let it be for Pekadin, let it be for Alva, let it be for Nezik, for whatever your reason you claim you owe me money, I owe you money. The money is in my pocket. Your burden is to prove it. It's exact opposite. By Isser, you say the slightest chance if I owe you the money or anything, if it's an Isser, I got to be machmer. By Mamon, you say if I'm holding the money, you have to prove. I'm not giving you my hard-earned money because the muhzik always has the upper hand. So these two things are polar opposite. Mitzad Isser, I have to give. I don't want to be attached to any Isser. I have to be machmir. Mitzad Hezek, Mitzad Mamon, I have to hold. I get to hold until you prove. So what would be this? Where would this apply here? Where would this apply here? Before we go to where does this apply here, which Isser may there be? The Shulchan Aruch says you're an Asur. You're not allowed to be mazik. Where does the Torah say you're not allowed to be mazik? Huh? Where? Yeah, where does the Torah say you're not allowed to be mazik? The Torah says if Shiur happens, if Bur happens, you have to pay, fine. But where does it say I'm not allowed to do this? By where? By punch.
From the beginning.
So it says if you did it, you pay. Who says you're not allowed to do it?
You say the beginning, you're not allowed to.
I'm telling you now, there's a shita that says it. The Mechaber says it's Asur. Where did the Mechaber come with the Asur? He says you're not allowed to do it. Even if you wouldn't read those words, you could bop the lady and pay for the baby. Pay. I'm a rich man. I don't care to waste money. But the Shulchan Aruch says you're not allowed to do that.
Even at the beginning.
Even at the beginning. Where does that come from? So over here we find different shittas in the Rishonim. Rabbeinu Yoina says what you just said. If the Torah says loy sigzel, you're not allowed to steal. The Torah also says you're not allowed to. I'm not allowed to steal even if I steal for a game. I hide your pen. You know, in Achrayim it says that if you want to hide your friend's pen and not give it back to him and play a game with him, it's loy sig. Eventually you're going to give it back. Temporarily, it's loy sig. It's loy sig. No, you can't. No, why? Because it's not a financial thing. It's not. You're going to give it back. He'll get it back. Yeah. It's an isser. So if the Torah says loy sigzel, part of loy sigzel, the Torah also saying no hezek. What's any form of hezek? It's the same concept. Just like by loy sigzel, same idea. It's an extension from loy sigzel. The Torah doesn't say anywhere don't cause any damage. But the Rishonim are trying to find which connected to which Isser is there. The Shalos Teshuvas Harash says that it's Misad Lifnei Iver Leisit Lemich. I'm sorry. Shalos Teshuvas Harash says because it's not a pasuk in the Torah. It's the pasuk that we say by Hagba. The Torah's ways are ways of shalom, of peace, of people getting along. Going around hurting people, damaging people, even if you're going to pay, it's not the peaceful way. Okay, good Shiloh. The others say he says it's different Kabbalah. It's not a pasuk in Chumash. Incidentally, you have a siddur in front of you. You have a siddur here. I'll show you something about that thing. What do we see? What do we say by Hadba? We say. What's a Gillim? Yeah, but we're trying to say it's an Isser. From where? Where is the Isser? I'll leave you this question. You pick up the Torah, you say, "V'zeres Torah somebody from the Israel." That's a pasuk Chumash. Eitz Chaim Hi LaMachzikim Ba V'Semcha Mu'asher. D'Racher D'Archinoyim V'Chol Nefsivaseh Shalom. Erich Yom Memino Smicha Chaved. These are 3 psukim. If you don't have, or you have it over here in the English, I don't know how to read this. But if you look in the Makar, these 3 psukim are reversed backwards as they're written in the. I think it's a Mishlei. The first pasuk is Erich Yom Minas Mersha Chavik. The second one is D'Rachar D'Achinayim V'Chol Nefsivaseh Shalom. And the third one is Eitz Chaim Hilach. Why did he reverse it? Okay, that's because you brought it up. All right, so I'm trying to find some psukim where in either Chumash or Nach or different Kabbalah something a remes for Isser. So the first one we learned was Leisigzil. The second one we learned is from D'Rachar D'Achinayim V'Chol Nefsivaseh Shalom. Other Rishonim say it's the Isser of Lifnei Iver. Which Lifnei Iver? You're putting a stumbling block. If I go around hurting people, you're not going to be my friend. You're not going to like me. So it's a stumbling block for V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. The Rashash actually says it's this week's Parsha. This week's Parsha is Hashavas Aveda. The mitzvah of Hashavas Aveda. Madach Hashavas Aveda. Madach, I go on the street, I find something that you lost.
Ignore it.
I have a mitzvah to go give it back. Alachas Kama V'Kama. I'm not allowed to make you lose something. Right? So the Isser is a reverse from Hashavas Aveda. There are others say also it's Mino Yishayftim, whatever it is.
Ignore that. Ignore that. You should do that.
No, I can't. Madach, I have to give you back something that you lost.
Yeah.
Of course, I can't make you lose something.
Right.
By causing you.
Your,
That's the Isser. Either one of these. I'm just.
That's where using Veda.
Yeah.
It's like a backwards word. This is almost more.
Good. Correct. So these are the different Ramazim. Good point. These are the different Ramazim for an Isser. There's nowhere in the Torah clearly says Isser, but this is an Isser.
This says
The Yad Rameh. Yeah. The Rabbeinu Yoina is the first one, like Sigzal. The Shaus of Chuvas Harasha D'Rachel D'Achinayim. The Yad Rameh is the Fneiver on the mitzvah of Hafta D'Achinayim. The Rashash is Hashavas Aveda. There's actually another. Who's this last one? I forgot who the last one is. There's a mitzvah of Minoi Shayftim V'Shayftim Titlacha to make judges. What is the job of the judges? The job of the judges is to make law and order. For example, there's a din of Yored V'Toichem Nasir Shel Chaverei, which is the classical Hasagas Gvul. What is Yored V'Toichem Nasir Shel Chaverei? If you have a grocery, I breach your boundaries. I open. You are.
Oh, you can't put another store on the same
right.
block.
You hope. I can't say a yeshiva next to a yeshiva. You're allowed to. That you're allowed to. What's your name? Kaplan.
Yeah, head shliach.
Which Kaplan?
What?
Which Kaplan? Which one?
The old captain, father.
From here?
He's a long chiller from Long Island.
The Kaplans are here also. You know.
There's a cow.
All right. One second. So I'll answer your question.
Go back to the store.
So if I breach your boundary, you open the store and you're depending on this clientele. If I open a store near you, and there's a whole way when that is chal, it's only specific cases where it's chal. But if you take away from the other person's livelihood, then what? It doesn't say anywhere in the Torah Chumash you're not allowed to do it. But Bezdin has to step in for Mitam Bezdin Ushvatatem Tzedek to make sure that there is tzedek amongst people. Bezdin will stop that. All right. So let me summarize where I'm up to. The Mechaber said that you're not allowed to. There is an Isser. The Mechaber said there's an Isser to damage. We just brought different opinions Where is such an Isser? Either it's like Sigzal or Shavas Aveda, whatever it is, that's the Isser. I don't have it.
Here.
I don't have it. He was on. We have different Isser. Now, what's the Mila of it being an Isser? The Mila of it being an Isser, but then we have the din of Suffolk Dairaisa, Suffolk Isser L'Chumra. When it comes to Dini Mamonis, we say you don't go Misveka. Whoever is holding the money gets to keep it until you prove it. Now innocent until you're proven guilty. Now let me tell you a couple of rayas that Isser does apply. It's not only a financial matter, but it's also Isser. The Gemara in Bava Kama says, the Gemara in Kedushin, when the Gemara talks about the famous sugya of Shliach L'Dvar Aveira. You know the sugya of Shliach L'Dvar Aveira? Shliach L'Dvar Aveira is if you Chas v'Shalom, you ask somebody to do something wrong. Who gets punished for what he did? Does the Mishalech get punished or the Shliach? And the Gemara says, Ein Shliach L'Dvar Aveira. Even though by a Dvar Mitzvah you get credit for what that person did, but when it comes to Dvar Aveira, there's no such a thing of Shlichus Dvar Aveira, and the Shliach will get punished, even though I asked him to do it. He gets punished for what he did, for the famous line, Divrei Arav, Divrei Talmud, Divrei Mishomrim. He had a choice to listen to me, the student, or listen to the Eibishter, the Rav, the master. And he chose it. He made a bad decision, so he gets punished. He wasn't forced to do that. So there's a halacha, Ein Shliach L'Dvar Aveira. Right?
Which again means that the guy that did it,
the shliach who did it, the shliach, not the mishalech. By a mitzvah, you could send a shliach to do it, and you get the credit. Shluchei shalom kamoshi, gans lebavich is shlichus, right? When it comes to Dvar Aveira, ain't shliach Dvar Aveira. And the Gemara discusses what happens if I come over to you and they say, Yankel, go break that guy's bicycle. What's the din? Who's going to be responsible for the bicycle? The Gemara says, the shliach. Why is the shliach? Because ain't shliach L'Dvar Aveira. Ain't shliach L'Dvar Aveira is because of the reason of Divrei Arav, Divrei Talmud, Divrei Mishomrim. That's an Isser. Should you listen to the Eibishter, where the Eibishter says no? Or should you listen to me, who I asked you to do it? And since the Gemara uses this as an example, Zaraya, there's an Isser to this too. It's not only a financial thing, because financially, maybe you'll pay it and it'll be good. And he's not going to lose any money. You just made a bad choice by not listening to the Eivish. Then, there's another raya. Where's this raya from? I forgot I saw that.
Where are they for?
A raya that is not only has a moment, is an Isser. There's not only because Ein Shliach L'Dvar Aveira, the reason why Ein Shliach L'Dvar Aveira is because you should have listened to the Eibishter. Nothing to do with the financial part, because for the financial, I could pay him. I'll collapse him and I'll pay him.
It's talking about Mamon.
If I tell somebody to be mazik chavere,
That's what it's talking about.
one of the examples, the Gemara says over there, the shliach will be chayiv.
Why are all the person with the father knows
I know there's this because Shulchan Aruch says this. I'm saying, where do we find different cases that there is such a thing as Isser? We're doing it reverse. The Shulchan Aruch says it's Isser. The question is, where does the Isser stem from? So we have different opinions, and we see it actually plays itself out in the Gemara in different places. And now, let me tell you another Gemara. Another Gemara is right over here. Beautiful Gemara. When you turn to Daf Beis Amud Beis, please look in Daf Beis Amud Beis. Zakti Gemara, 4 lines from the top. Tana Rabbanon, Gimel Avos Nemru B'Shur. There are 3 Avos Nizikין Neshur. What are they? HaKeren, HaShein, VaRegel. Right? The horns, the teeth, and the trampling with the feet. Listen to what the Gemara brings at Ayah. Keren minolon. How do we know that Keren is av Nizikін? The Tana Rabbanan taught us ki yigach. The Torah says, if your animal goes yigach, what's yigach? Ein negicha el bekeren. the gicha must mean that it caused damage b'keren. How do we know that? Shenemar, because the pasuk says, "Vayasle tzitkiya ben knana karne barzel." Tzitkiya made metal horns. Vayomer, and he said, "Koyamar Hashem be'ela tenagach esaram." So we see that he made horns, Karen, and right in that same pasuk it says tenagach. Yigach is b'keren. One pasuk. Vayomer, and then he brings a second pasuk, a pasuk in Vayechi or V'zoysa Bracha. Bechar. This is what he compares Yosef. Bechar shoyrei hadaloi, v'karnei re'eim karnov. Right. So over here it's bechar. Karnei re'eim, the horns of the animal. Bahem amim yenagach. So over here we also find keren yenagach. So by us it says if my animal does yigach, he has two rayas from two different psukim that yigach is done b'keren. Good? Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't answer you before. Yeah. Good. You're as great as the Gemara. The Gemara is going to ask the question.
No.
The Gemara is going to ask why you need both, and you're going to ask why the second, and that. Okay. Let me.
And also, every second that he has the thing that he
Every what?
Every second that he has the thing, is that an Isser?
When you cause a damage over here, it's not gzeil. I'm not holding your thing. You're saying every second. Good Shaila. Every second I don't. The emes is even if I pay you, the Isser is still there, right? So it's mistama the one-time blast. The Isser is to cause the damage. Good Shaila. Because by gzeila you say if you steal something, every minute you don't return the gzeila, you have the Isser of the hepach v'esher of the gzeila. But over here, if you tell him, that's because over there the Torah said how you could make up the returning of the. Over here, it's not that way. All right, listen to the Gemara. You know what?
Is the person that we're bringing at the Smicha or
In these two cases,
no, for the Isser?
it's all just rayas. It's all rayas. Lepoil, right. Frakti Gemara, my va'omer. Why does he bring two psukim? The chitayim, and if you're going to say that he didn't like the first pasuk, because the first pasuk is divrei Kabbalah. The chitayim, divrei Torah, divrei Kabbalah lo yalfinon, tashma b'char shoyrei hadaloi. Zakti Gemara v'hay meilefu. It's not a limud. Gilu mil sabalma. He's just trying to tell you that he's just explaining to you where yigach what the word yigach means. It's not a limud halacha. Good. But then he goes, Ella, Ma'u detema. I would have thought, Ki palagrachmona bein tam lemuad. When did the Torah say there's a difference between the tam and muad? Hani mini betlusha. What happened over there by Tzitkiya? Tzitkiya made a karne barzel. So it wasn't. The animal didn't cause the damage. He didn't tell his bullies, a bully animal, go kill them. He had a loose keren, and with the loose keren, he did what. That's how they're going to be destroyed. So I would have thought, hey, if an animal does damage betlusha, over there we have these chilukim between tam and muad. Why? Because it doesn't make sense. Because it's not common for an animal to do damage betlusha, where a loose keren, put it in his mouth and go around. No, but that's why it takes tam 1, 2 until we say 8. He's a muad. Avo b'mechuberes. You would have thought that if the animal would have done damage with the horns on his head, oh, maybe that's a normal thing. And for a normal thing, he should become a muad right away. Ema kula muadasi kashma b'chor shayra hadaloi. That even that type of goring, even that type of damaging is also the first 2 times. The first 3 times is a tam and then a muad. Okay, listen to what he just said. If I wasn't sure, what would have I said? If I wasn't sure, I would have said that a tam and muad is only by when it's not connected.
It's not normal.
Because it's not normal for an animal to put it in the mouth. But if it's connected, I would have, even though I don't know that for a fact, I would have assumed the worst. What would have I assumed? I would have assumed that he has to pay. I would have assumed that halacha should be he's a mu'ad the first time. Kamash mala, huh? No, so the Rashba asks a shaila. Why are you assuming the worst? He said, the Rashba, let me explain the Gemara because you'll see how he fills it out. Okay. If it would only say one pasuk, the pasuk about a telusha, what would you say? By a telusha, it's not normal. So the first couple of times it's a tam, and then eventually it becomes a mu'ad. But if the pasuk doesn't talk about a mechuberes, so what would I assume? Oh, mechuberes, it's a mu'ad right away, right? Huh?
If he got his special, what do you call that?
Good question. If you're saying, but that's not the Gemara saying. The Gemara is saying, I would have said b'mechuberes, it's a mu'ad right away because it's normal. It's on him. Animals do what the animals do. That's not normal. So maybe yigach means anything with the keren. Anything with the keren. Yigach, any damage done with the keren. Over there, it happened to be b'telusha, but any damage is included by.
If it's included, then it's a time more.
All right. Okay, I hear what you're saying. So, good question. So let's go weiter. So, by a mechuberes, supposed to gesagt, mu'ad leilam, because it's normal. For the Rashba, I don't connect the dots. Because it doesn't say you're going to automatically make it the worst. If it's a mominous thing, you always, suffix momin is lakula. If you don't know how much to charge a person, you always have to do lenient. Why? Because the money is his. The money is in his pocket. Unless I know for sure. I understand, but he says he doesn't understand the havamin of the Gemara. The Gemara is saying, if not for the second parsik, I would have assumed that he's for sure a mu'ad the first time. You can't assume in money. In money, you have to be sure before you can make me give my hard-earned money. Because I'm waiting mechavere olavaraya. And for the Rashba, this thing, what you're saying, and for the Rashba, over here, it's not only mominous. Over here, it's isur. And by isur, you have to be machmir. And because it's a suffix isur, so therefore, when you don't know for sure, you're machmir. You say, I don't know, maybe the Tama more than the pasuk is only by this telusha, but a mechuberes, because it's a suffix isur l'chumra. Good raya, huh? No. All other mitzvah chaver al varaya is not. There's not an isur attached to it. If you, where would a mitzvah? If where would a when you claim I paid my loan, I didn't pay my loan, or that's not, even though it's a fine damage also. It's plain financial thing. Over here, it's more than a financial thing. It's a isur, and for isur you have to be ma. Because right, and that's why we assume the worst. That's the so on this Rashba, a lot of Achrayim talk about. Come on, is it really a isur? So the Chassam Sofer gives a hesber. It depends what type of suffix we're talking about. Over here, it's a suffix what the pasuk meant.
So that's why we could say count.
So over here, the suffix. What is it really? The pilot. It's a question of financial. We think. How can you just say you have to be machar? What happened to Motzei Mechaveda Oliveraya? Some Sefer explains that over here it's a different type of suffix. It's not a suffix. What happened? Over here, the suffix is what did the Torah mean? Did the Torah mean dafka telusha, or did the Torah mean even mechuberes? That's suffix. Is it? I'm asking a shaila in Torah. A suffix in Metzias, a suffix in the story. He says that would be different. Anyways, let's go to the Chiov Mamon. So until now we just added that besides for the causing somebody a financial loss, you have to know it's asur min haTorah. If you did it, you have to pay. You have to pay. So there is a very, very famous chakira. Chakira means debate. I don't know if the word chakira is the right one. Huh? Discussion is simple. Chakira means there's two ways how to learn it. What am I paying? Why am I paying? When I cause you a loss, what's making me pay? There's two ways how to look at it. One way how to look at it is, if I cause damage, I have to pay. You learn the Gemara, later on the Gemara says, Adam mu'ad lo'elam. A person has to pay for any sort of damage he makes, whether he's up or he's sleeping. A person is always responsible, right? So just like I'm responsible for whatever damage I pay, my assets, my moment that causes damage, I pay. What's that? Yeah. Adam mu'ad lo'elam by Yoshin. The Gemara says it right here in Daf Dalet, no? Okay. 1 sec. Is there any way I could cause a damage and I'll be pater? Yes. An einus. There are ways. There are ways. In Shulchan Aruch it actually says there's a discussion if a people are by a wedding and they're getting freilich, and as that wedding they make the hoop cup and they break a table. Is it expected? It's not expected. Okay, so it says in Ramah. The Ramah talks about it. About Purim, about Chasna. So, what do we start? We start as I am responsible to pay. I am a mu'ad lo'elam. Anything that I do, I have to pay. Anything that my assets do, I have to pay. I could take that payment off if we find out that it's a einus, right? So, whose burden of proof is it to prove that it was einus? Who has to prove that it was einus? Who? The mazik and the nizik. The mazik. In other words, I adam mu'ad lo'elam. Anything that happens from my hand, I pay. Anything that happens from my shiur, I pay. If I want to get exempt from paying, I have to prove it. And then there's another way. There's a very famous chakir, the Ibn Azul says this. And the second way to learn it, no. I'm not responsible because every person is a good guy. I'm responsible to pay when you find out that I didn't do my job. I didn't do my due diligence to protect my assets. In other words, if I have an animal, people have animals, people have pets, but most people have pets on leashes. Most people who have shiur have a barn, closed barn. So I am responsible to pay when I left the door open. Because I left the door open, I'm responsible to pay. So is it the lack of shmirah that makes me pay? Or the memoinai hamazik that makes me pay? Seems to be very delicate, right? Seems to be a very delicate difference. So let me give you 3 differences in halacha. Adam could also be, but it's a little different. Huh? Just like Adam mu'ad lo'elam, so I'm responsible for whatever my mom does. That's my asset. Just like, why am I even responsible to pay for my mom? Because I'm responsible. I'm responsible for me. I'm responsible for him.
So why does the Mishnah say being made in the
I don't know. So again, do I pay because I pay for everything I do? I pay for everything my mom does? Or do I pay because I wasn't careful? I didn't, the shmirah, the lack of shmirah is what causes me to pay. What is the nafkamina? The nafkamina is a fight breaks out. My animal went out and ran to your neighbor, your rishus, and broke the window of your car. What am I saying, and what is the mazik saying? What is the nizik saying? The mazik saying, what do you want me to do? I closed them up. I closed up the barn. Everything was done. Somehow he whacked it out and he got out. Einus. You're saying Dremish Kikop, there was no Einus. Sure. So now there's a suffix. There's a suffix between me and you. Right? There's a suffix. It's actually more than a suffix. I say I did a proper shmirah, and you say you didn't do a proper shmirah. So who has to prove this now? Who has to prove it? So this is a machlokes between the Bnei Yeshua and others. The Bnei Yeshua says that you, the owner of the car, has to prove that I was Pesheya. As long as I have a barn, and it looks like it has fences and everything, but you're claiming that I was Pesheya, you have to prove it.
This is the Bnei Yeshua?
Huh?
This is the Bnei Yeshua.
This is the Bnei Yeshua. Bnei Yeshua daf Nun Vav Amud Beis. Others say it's reverse. Amud Beis. Others say it's reverse. I have to prove. The Bnei Yeshua says the nizik, the owner of the car, has to prove. To make me pay him, he has to prove that I was Pesheya.
Basically, he said that Nizak, Mazik is like the Nizak.
In other words, what he is saying is the mazik doesn't have to pay automatically. The mazik has to be mechuyev when you prove that my lack of shmira, but it just doesn't happen automatic. That I'm right. The others say no. I have to pay because my animal caused damage, and if I want to prove that I did everything possible to be exempt, it's my responsibility to do so. It's my responsibility. Another example. The Gemara talks about a case, a sheikh that's shechting a chicken. A chicken in today's days doesn't cost. Oh, sorry. Yeah. No. Why should she pay half? Split it amongst themselves.
Yeah.
That's not the whole. It's right. Oh yeah, Mamon and multiple suffering. But over here, it's not a question. You can say, it doesn't make sense to say, because we don't know who's right, not like the Mamon and multiple suffering here. Here, it's either me or you are right. Mamon and multiple suffering is because it could be that way. Because it could be that way. Right. I was a sheikhet. Somebody shechted a chicken, and the chicken didn't do a good job, and the chicken is treif. And the balabatna say, "You just killed the chicken, and it cost us money." Oh, so the question is it his fault? It's not his fault. Huh?
You're taking
Why would it be his fault?
Oh, so the Gemara talks about one second. The Gemara talks about, could he charge me for the chicken, for killing the chicken or not? So the Gemara says like this: when he was a mumcha, when he's a seasoned sheikhet, it happens. It happens. You make sometimes. So it's part of the plan. So he doesn't have to pay. When he's not a mumcha, what are you wasting somebody else's chicken? You have to pay, right?
You're shaking.
Yeah.
Maybe it's his first time.
If I jump and just do it, right.
Right.
How about if it's a suffix for a mumcha or not? Or I claim, it's not my first time I shechted. I'm shechting already for. And you're saying, Papa Mice, I can see that you don't even know how to hold a shechted. A chalat. Right. What's the din? Who has to prove it? So over there, Chazal say, ala sheichet l'aviraya. The sheichet has to prove that he was a mumcha. Why? How does that? Who does this bring a raya to? That if a dead chicken here, somebody lost money because of my maisa. What's the einus? No, it's not an einus. I didn't shecht good, so I caused an nevela. Not you found inside a treif. I shechted, and there's something I shechted, but due to my shchita, I ruined the chicken.
You didn't have a smooth knife. You had a bump.
So who has to? I say it's not my first time I shechted. I shechted already months. I go every year kapara shechting. And you say I can see the way you're holding a knife. You don't know what you're talking about. Who has to prove it? So it's the same. It depends. If you say, when you see a dead animal, when you see a hezek, the person who got involved, he has to pay. And if he wants to be exempt, he has to bring raya to be exempt from it. Or do we say, no, the fact that it's something here, I only become mechuyev when you prove I was negligent, I was pesheya. If you didn't prove I was pesheya, I have ways around it. If I'm honest, I'm free to go. Whose burden of proof is it? From that halacha, you see that, huh? So that's halacha. Huh? Some bring this as a raya, since you see that the shaykhit has to prove that he was a mumcha, and if he doesn't prove it, he will have to pay for the dead chicken. There's a raya that a person or a person's assets, when it causes damage, you pay for the damage. Unless you could prove that you're exempt. It's not that you're not mechuyev until the other person proves that you're a thing.
Isn't the chicken a bit different, no? Like I'm saying, you shafted other chickens before, so the people's chickens.
So you're right. This is one of the rayas they want to bring here. Another example. Another nafkamina. Another nafkamina. Another nafkamina. Ezek 2. What would be the din? What time is it? What time you finish? 1:10?
Yeah.
Okay, another nafkamina. What would be the din if I had an animal and I didn't do a good job watching it? But my neighbor is such a tzaddik, he knew it's gonna be trouble for me. So my neighbor closed the door. And my neighbor made sure that the animal is secure. Right? And saf kol saf, the animal found its way out and caused damage. Who's chayiv now? If you're going to go basar my lack of shmira, but from the other hand, somebody. So is it? Listen to this. There's a double-edged here. I left the door open, but the door got shut from somebody else. And the animal goes out and causes damage. Should I be mechayiv because of which part? Which part of the chakira? Which part of the chakira would be mechayiv? Which part of the chakira would say yapater? If it's mitzad, I'll read. Listen to how he says it. Im chiyuv tashlumim mitam chiyuv shmira. If I'm paying because I have to guard my animal, and if I didn't guard my animal, I get punished. Im kain ikar achiyuv shleilahen liach behema bilti shmura. So my chiyuv is I'm never allowed to leave an animal empty, open. V'kivon de be'emes hoysha shmura. Since the bottom line, before it burst out, it was protected. Even though I didn't do it, I didn't leave a wild animal. Before it went out to damage, it was secure. I should be off the hook. Avolim name of the haptur mitzad einis. If, however, you say fakert, the chiyuv is the ptur is when I'm a einis uvegeder einis rachamana patra. Avol etzem chiyuv tashlum about hezing amayna hu ikadina. If, however, you say when something does damage, I'm automatically responsible. I'm automatically responsible. The only way I get exempt is if I prove that it's einus, im kain lo shayach lovik kamit tam einus, kiven the hush lo shamar klau. I can't say I was einus. I wasn't einus because when I went bye-bye, I left it open.
They still have this guy as a shliach.
The guy did it on his own. The guy did. In other words, like this. Let's track this door. Let's track this door. If the chiyuv is because I did something wrong, when I left and the door left open, I did something wrong. Somebody else shut it. He doesn't help my doing wrong. I left. I was a pesheya. If, however, the chiyuv is not because I did something wrong, if the chiyuv is because what? Because I didn't. The door wasn't shut, but the door was shut. The bottom line, it was shut. Okay, so let me make a summary.
How does that connect to our
That's the chakira of what makes you pay. What makes the person pay? In that case, if it's mitzad the oinus, then if it's mitzad, the pshia, if it's mitzad the pshia, in other words, every time something of yours causes damage, you're mechuyev. Then the fact that you left with the door open, you're mechuyev. Somebody else shut the door, you're chayav. If, however, it's not mitzad that, it's mitzad your lack of keeping the door open, the bottom line is the door was closed. The bottom line, the door was closed before it caused damage. So I should be plugged in. All right, let me make a sikkum from today's shiur. I spoke about two things. You write down whatever you want. I spoke about two things. Number one, besides for learning arba avos nizikин as a bein adam lachaveru thing, as a what's your name, Kessler? Zucker. Besides for being besides for arba avos nizikin being a bein adam lachaveru thing, a financial matter, it's also isser. Mine afkamina that it's isser a vigla. What helps? What gets added because of it being isser? First of all, we spoke about different opinions where the isser is from. What helps because of its isser? Sveika d'oraisa l'chumra. Other examples I gave. Because an isser you can't even do it, even if you're going to pay the guy back. You're just not allowed to do it. Then we went. Besides for being isser, there's a hezek mumming. So we have a chakira. What causes the hezek mumming? Does the hezek mumming cause because of your lack of pshia, your lack of shmira, your being a pesheya, or does the hezek mumming, or does the חיוב mumming come not because of your lack of pshia, because of you do something wrong, you pay. Your behemoth does something wrong, you pay. The nafkamina is anytime there's a suffix, whose burden of bringing the proof not to pay? Is it your burden because you're automatically chayav for what you do, and you have to undo it, or is it farkart? If it's a suffix, the bottom line, I don't pay until you prove that I was a pesheya. Okay. Now, do we have time to do the chassidish thing, or I'll let you?
Why doesn't the Gemara say it?
Huh?
Why doesn't the Gemara say it?
The Gemara say what?
Yes, in the beginning. Why doesn't it say it?
I don't know. I don't know. The Rambam doesn't either say it. I'm shocked at the Rambam. The Shulchan Aruch says it.
First thing, the Mechaber.
The Mechaber.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
The Tzavar Sirivash says that the Arba Avos Nesikin, Shur, Bur, Mava, and Hever in Avodas Hashem. Shur is Meloshan Ashurenu, is the damage that's done by the eyes when you look at things you're not supposed to. Bur is an empty pit. Says the Baal Shem Tov, the empty pit is a guy who wastes time. An empty pit is the Bur Lake ain't by Mayim. Mava, the Gemara says, a Shane or Adam Shane is a person that eats everything that he sees and he's not makbid kashrus. And Hever is fire, Hever is kas, getting steamed up for stupidity, kas, gaiva. So those are the Arba Avos Nesikin. The Arizal says, Shane, Keren, and Regel, Shin, Kuf, Reish is Sheker. Some Sofer says that by Eishes Putifar, it says, Ve'ein ish me'anche abayis, me'anche abayis sham babayis. So the Eishes Putifar was trying to seduce Yosef and Avera. It says, Ve'ein ish me'anche abayis sham babayis. It says the Chasam Sofer, me'anche habayis sham babayis spells out mave, right? Mave. No, it's not, sorry. It spells out Shur, Burn, Marva, Hever. The four things. In other words, she tried to use every hezek, every dvar hezek to try to drag him down, and she couldn't. There's much more. There's a beautiful Chasam Sofer here. I wanted to start to share with, but I didn't, and we'll leave it some other time. Next time, Mitzvah. If there is. All right, Kol Tov.